We're very happy to be back with you again today. And our lesson today comes from the book of Matthew, and we're going to be looking at the 16th chapter. Now, this chapter comes in what is called Jesus' year of popularity. People were flocking to him from all around. And he comes to his disciples, the chosen 12, and he has a very important conversation with them. Notice what he says, starting in Matthew 16 and verse 13. Now, when Jesus came to the district of Caesarea Philippi, he was asking his disciples, "Who do the people say that the Son of Man is?" And they said, "Some say John the Baptist, and others Elijah, but still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets." You see, the people of that day didn't understand who Jesus was. They thought he was some prophet that had been risen from the dead, either of Elijah or Jeremiah or even John the Baptist, who at this time had been killed. They thought that he was a risen a prophet, come back from the dead. But notice, as we go on, verse 15, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter answered, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." You see, the apostles knew who Jesus was. They said that you are the Christ, the Messiah, the promised one, the anointed one, the one that the prophets of old had told about. But he goes on to say, you are the Son of the living God. Now, one of the things, laws of nature is that the Son shares the nature of the Father. And we know that. My son is a human, the son of a dog is a dog. Now here, Peter says, you are the Son of the living God. Now we know what the nature of the Father is, God the Father. And so therefore we know the nature of the Son. He says, you also are God. Now notice Jesus' reply in verse 16. And Jesus said to him, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, because flesh and blood did not reveal this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. I say to you that you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overpower it. I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall have been bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall have been loosed in heaven." Jesus says, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah." Now that name, Bar-Jonah, isn't a surname. It's really just saying Simon, son of Jonah. You see, Peter had said, you are the Son of God. Jesus says, Peter, you are the son of Jonah. And he says, flesh and blood did not reveal this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. He accepts that the God of heaven is his Father, and accepting the statement that Jesus also is God. And notice what he goes on to say in verse 18. "I say to you that you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church." Now there are some people who falsely think that Peter is what the church was built on. Peter was just a man. In fact, in this very same chapter, Jesus says to him, "Get behind me, Satan." He was speaking to Peter because of the way he was speaking. No, the church was not built on Peter, but it was built on what he said. You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. That is what the church was built on. And he goes on to say, "I will give you the keys to the kingdom." Here the words kingdom and church are used interchangeably. Peter was the one who was given the keys to the kingdom. And in the later video, we'll talk more about that. But I want to now look at what Jesus said. He said there in verse 17, verse 18, he said, "I say to you that you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church." Now we want to finish up with just this phrase, what Jesus says, "I will build my church." This is very important. We've got to realize that Jesus Christ is the builder of the church. Anyone who came after Jesus and built a church, well, they didn't build Jesus' church. Then he says, "I will build my church." Notice, this church doesn't belong to anyone else. This church belongs to Jesus Christ. That's why we read in Romans 16, verse 16, "The churches of Christ greet you." Jesus is the builder. He is the owner. Therefore, it carries his name. And then he says, I will build my church. Did you notice that church here is used singularly? Jesus was only ever going to build one church. Now, there are many churches today, yes indeed, and they're built by many different people. But Jesus only built one church, and it carries his name. My friends, if you would like to know more about that church that Jesus was going to build, we encourage you to contact us. Write a comment down the bottom, ask a question, and we'll get right back to you. Once again, we thank you very much for being with us. We ask you to be careful at this difficult time and come back regularly. If you've enjoyed this video, why don't you like it, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Thank you very much, and stay safe.